share the nausea, but we haven't made any progress on it. So I just want to, as a group, think through what this means. Point. And this is what's really different about this. It's not the process we take. It's this decision point moving down to here, where we're changing from a learning action project to an impact project. So now we've developed the ideas to the point where we know what the project is, we know what the goals are, we do have some level of business case that we're evaluating, and now we have a table. And this is, we've worked on this a lot at Fraser, trying to see how we can make it work. If you have skin in the game, you've got a seat at the table, and nobody spends anyone else's money or allocates the resources. And we did that because we had a huge blow up there about the health authority is going to take over all our funding. Well, no, okay, do with them. Who wants to take this on? We didn't usually say no, but we said not us. You know, none of the people at the table. We sent it on to health system redesign. We sent it on to the facility engagement. We sent it on to other places.
Access and flow.
Access
We get a lot of them.
There you go. Yeah. So we tried to be that one door you walk through that has all the other doors behind it, and direct. But we also selected and funded. So this is the second decision point. Now those projects that are moving forward, they're going to have a third decision point, and that happens in June. And in June, you look at the projects and you say, is this promising enough to carry forward and finish? And the reason I say that is because in June, the funding changes. It changes from cohort funding to project funding. So at that point, you're going to make a decision, is there enough promise in this to actually take it forward? Just, a rallying cry or anything else. It's just the organization of this is set up so that this is necessarily going to select for impact. The other advantage here is that statement, anyone with skin in the game has a seat at the table. So we know in Fraser that there's a couple of course, whether it's PQI or the health authority or whatever. And that, this becomes a menu here. So you can have health system redesign can provide some money, facility engagement could provide some money, PQI could provide resource, health authority could provide the data, and make it into a full project. If they don't form the proposal in a manner that matches our selection priorities, they get to go back around the cycle again.
It also means it depends who's making that selection, because our current committees cannot do that.
Right.
Right? That's what we've learned is the problem with the rest of the cycle. They have no skin in the game.
Yeah.
They aren't leaders.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't in operations. Right. So this, I like that it's a different color even, mm-hmm. because this decision point is critical that all the highest level people are at the table.
Yeah. In Fraser, this table right now consists of the health authority, which always has skin in the game, PQI, which always has skin in the game, and SSC. And our role in all of these, steering committee, all of these, is to make sure that they're kind of bouncing between the rails, that they're following the guidelines that are set, and they're not sort of drifting off into other territory, which happens often. Usually not hard to get them back on track, but we go into this.
In Interior, there's been an attempt to address those very points, Kurt, that you've been talking about, because there are projects that at graduation that have not been completed, but there's of interest to the health authority, for example, or more larger system improvement, and so those projects then get highlighted by the PQI team, which then moves into this readiness assessment kind of phase where additional supports are put in. They start looking at whether or not it's, and then operations is at the table from the very inception of all PQI projects in interior health, because it's the dyad model. And so operations is aware of these projects, whether they end up flying or not, but at least they're aware. And then when they get to that project June phase, operations is still aware and saying, is this something that we have capacity, interest? Does it align with our strategic priorities and the health authority? How does it align with the mandate letter, et cetera, et cetera? And so then they enter this readiness assessment phase that is very structured, that Manisha, and she could speak more. And then there's a more wholesome discussion with senior operational quality people at the table saying, is this something that can be moved forward with full operational support? And so it's done in a really stepwise fashion, but I agree with you. I think that that's what's needed at every step to really take an individual project, allow it to mature to a level to say, is it ready? Where's the charter? Where's the playbook? And is this something that the health authority can take on?
Yeah, and I think it's really important too that we recognize that as in everything else in PQI, each health authority is going to look a little different. So I bring Fraser up just because I've worked with them fairly closely to get this going. And there's lots of room for that as long as the basic principles are in place. So if you've got a process already for June, why would we interfere with that? On the other hand, Fraser doesn't. So Fraser needs to look at what you're doing and create something that works for them. In June, take a look at the work that we've done. You know, we need to be careful about sunk cost fallacy, but we need to look at whether or not we need to continue funding these and take them through to completion, because the impact that we thought was there in project selection is still there. We just need to add another 6 months worth of funding or something like that. So,
But if these decisions are made at a high level, so operations are needed, a project lead, a sponsor even. But if the whole system that's gonna adopt this in terms of physicians is not on board from the beginning, Daisy and I would predict it's going to fail.
Yeah.
Right? And that has never happened. So just as long as there's this understanding, we'll get to it with whole system quality, that the whole, let's say, department, division, whatever it is, you need to do some work there, because the selling of the idea, the explaining of the idea, that requires some training, right, from our people.
looking for how best to spend
You did well.
the money. Accelerator, yeah, that type of idea.
So that they're now ready to propose a spread project.
Yeah, but I want to say, what I'm saying though is, this applies to all projects.
It does.
Not about spread, so it's just about some projects should just stay local, or maybe that's all they wanna do, but they will never get to implementation and sustainment if there wasn't that consensus agreement at the start. And that's what we're missing. We get one physician interested.
Yeah.
It's the greatest idea, they even show progress score,
Yeah.
but they can't implement because there was never consensus and readiness at the beginning within the department
Yeah.
that everybody wants to do this.
And that's because we select here and not here. So this is this is the same project processes that we've always tried to teach. We've just put those decision points in a little
Along the way, we
Yeah.
did them along the way.
Take those mushrooms, and
Take those mushrooms.
when we
I like that.
when we take and try and socialize this, if we can say, Interior, please describe what you're doing around this. Fraser, please describe what you're doing over here. Island, tell us about your accelerator, so that it comes out that this is not 180 degrees different from
Right.
So
what
this
we've been doing.
wild new thing everyone's
Yeah.
expecting.
It's
Exactly.
building upon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's building
we're
upon.
using your learning to help inform what we're doing.
Like even in
Table is it's not completely dependent on PQI budget. so that we can get other funders in there, we can get, a much more resilient, system built into the
Yes.
health authorities, so that if the next PMA sees a drastic cut, we may find ourselves funding staff, but going to,
Alumni.
you know, other sources to provide funding, for example.